You have to make your own sunshine when it's raining. So it is winter here in Aotearoa, and there's been a lot of rain. So it's a little bit challenging getting out into the ngahere at the moment. So we have to make our own ngahere within and make our own sunshine. I think the music's going to be a bit distracting for me, so I will turn that right down and just get in with the podcast. Let's take 3 deep breaths in together. Ha ki roto, ha ki waho, ha ki roto, ha ki waho, ha ki roto, ha ki waho. Ka pai, ka pai. The podcast, this is early in the morning, by the way. It's 7:30 in the morning and the sun is still rising here. So I can see outside now. My household is still asleep, is still sleeping because it's cold. And why get up when it's cold and wet? What I wanted to kōrero about this morning is something that we have probably all been experiencing, or most of us have been experiencing, feelings of separation, feelings of division, and I wanted to have a little kōrero about that. I have been contemplating on what that looks like for me. I remember when I was growing up in the 70s, I was growing up in my small town, Otaki, and it was all very community driven, and the marae, our ancestral home, was the centre of living for me, for my whānau, and for our community, and we all lived in harmony together. That's what I felt growing up. Even into the 80s, I felt quite connected with everybody in my community. There was no division or separation that I saw, that I felt. I guess it wasn't until the late 80s, the 90s, that I started to experience forms of division and separation, and it was quite confronting because I had never known it before, so I didn't quite know how to respond or even be in those scenarios, and I guess I didn't really deal with it at the time. Who does deal with it? You just get on with life and you wait for the pattern to move through and you just respond to life. You react or respond to life however you see fit, however you feel comfortable in terms of those experiences. And every experience is different for everyone. I mean, but what I'm feeling at the moment is the same type of feeling that I felt back in the 90s, where there was this cloud of, or this haze of division that seems to be blanketing the community, my community, and I'm experiencing that feeling all over again. And I have been contemplating on that, and just spent a few weeks just sitting with it. And by no means am I an expert or experienced in this area of, by no means at all, but what I have been doing is just contemplating and reflecting on how I respond to these experiences of division, racism, separation. And I had to, as usual, as with everything that I that I'm healing in my life, or that I am restoring balance to, I bring it back to myself, I bring it back to within, instead of looking outside of myself. We see it all over social media, on the news. We see it outside of ourselves, and we react and respond to what's outside of ourselves, and it's always a reaction or a response. But what is happening on the outside of us is always going on internally. And I know that if I bring it back to myself and work with it internally, then I don't have those feelings of reactions or responses that I used to have. Still working with this, but I felt like it was a good time to bring this to the surface and to start the kōrero, the conversation on this, and how you are working through division and separation in your community. How are you healing yourself from within? How are you doing it internally? What questions are you asking yourself to be able to reflect deeply, profoundly, in a way that heals that division? A question that I have been sitting with is, what would it look like? What would it look like if I saw everyone as sacred? What would it look like if I saw everyone as sacred? And still I can feel like there's still a little bit of a gap there for me to work with. Because it's easy to see the people around you as sacred, but strangers, it's more challenging. And so that's the gap that I'm seeing, is the gap between myself and a stranger, and seeing them as sacred, especially when there is words of division coming from them. Now, I have to see them as a reflection of me, and so the way I react and respond has a well, it does something to me, and I need to heal that gap. So it starts with me, and so that's the gap that I am restoring. So basically what I'm doing is I'm seeing myself and division merging as sacred. Whew. I'm seeing myself and division and merging to be sacred, to be one. Yeah, so that's still a work in progress. The other question I'm sitting with is, how can I keep my heart open when I witness division and separation? How can I keep my heart open when I witness division and separation? And when I reflected on these questions, it all came down to, for me, to start with a practice, having a practice in place every morning, maybe every hour, maybe every 3 hours, however it needs to become imbued in myself. It came down to that I need to set a practice in place of one where I am grounded in who I am and where I come from, being one with Source, the Almighty, the sacred, nature. When I look at nature, when I look outside, when I look at a tree, when I look and feel the Māori of nature, I know that's when I am in my space of Source, of sacredness. And so I practice imbuing that Māori, bringing that life force into my life to imbue me with that. And that's my practice in the morning. Going for a walk in the ngahere in the forest and being able to do that is wonderful. But when you can't get into the forest, when I can't get into the forest, I need to be able to do that wherever I am, whether it's in a concrete building in the middle of the city. I want to be able to imbue the sacredness of nature within a second, because that's what it will take to merge that gap with divinity, with division. Bringing division into divinity. I like that. Merging division into divinity. Merging division in divinity. I love that. So it takes a practice for me, starting out, reflecting on these questions and working with these experiences is where I need to bring in a practice of being sacred, being grounded in who I am and where I come from, who I am. Because that question, how do I keep my heart open when witnessing hatred or division, is a biggie. That's, in the moment, especially if it's maybe aimed at you, how do you respond? How would you respond? How would you react? And these are the things I'm contemplating on. How would you respond? Everything that we're seeing in the world of separation is because of what is going on internally. And so we need to heal that within ourselves first. We need to heal that within ourselves Full stop. The other question that I'm reflecting on is, how can I be a bridge internally and externally and not a barrier? I know that it's very easy to be a barrier. Very easy to be a barrier, especially when you're in those experiences. How do you become a bridge? It's a great question. And sitting with these questions, it's all about having a practice. And for me right now, to imbue that, I need to practice bringing the Māori of nature and feeling that in my being regularly throughout the day, not just in the morning or at night or before I start work, or just all the time, probably every hour, just making it a practice of imbuing that, so that eventually you become solid in that Māori, you become solid with that life force, that you become like a tree, like a Tōtara, like a Kauri. You become like a tree. When I look at a tree, they help me to feel grounded and stable and solid and strong. And they are just being themselves. They are just being. They are just being. They're strong. They don't move. They don't go anywhere. They're just solid in who they are and what they are, where they are. They work with what's around them. And they just be themselves. So having a tree that you resonate with is another good practice to emanate the life force of that tree, of any tree. So just a short kōrero today. Just to bring these conversations into awareness, because it is pretty rife out there, and it's not very nice. The sensations aren't very nice, and you open up social media, you turn on the TV, you even going to the shop, there is so much division and separation that we need to be able to let that go. We need to be able to restore that into one of divinity, remembering our divinity and not division. Kia ora.